All right, let's jump right into one of the biggest debates in the Node.js universe heading into 2026. Fastify or Express? Is one of them really on the way out? We're going to break it all down.
I mean, you've heard this, right? It's all over the place. It's a really strong take, and it kind of frames this whole debate. But is it the whole picture, or is it just, a bit of an oversimplification?
Okay, so picture this. Your API is absolutely exploding. You're hitting crazy numbers, maybe 50,000 requests every single second. And now you've got to build a bunch of new microservices. The pressure is definitely on.
This is the exact question teams are grappling with, and it's not just about which one you like more. Nope, this is a strategic call, and it has some pretty major consequences down the road.
Yeah, we're not talking about some weekend side project here. For systems that need the scale, this choice creates ripples that affect everything, from your cloud bill all the way to how fast your team can actually ship code. So look, the stakes are super high because this one decision, it touches everything. We're talking about the performance of your APIs, your latency budgets, how much you're shelling out for cloud costs, and even the risk you take on by betting on a certain ecosystem. In big systems, even a tiny bit of extra work per request adds up to some serious money.
Okay, so fundamentally, they're just wired differently. Express is all about that flexible middleware approach. It doesn't tell you how to do things, which can be amazing or kind of risky. Fastify, on the other hand, was built from the ground up for pure speed. It uses a schema-based design to basically do a bunch of the hard work up front before a request even shows up.
All right, now for the main event, the part everyone loves to argue about, the raw numbers. Let's see how they really stack up when we put them head-to-head in a benchmark.
And boom, in our test, which we designed to be pretty realistic with things like authentication and database lookups, Fastify just pulls way ahead. We're talking over 6,000 more requests every single second. That's a huge deal.
And you can really see it here on this chart. Same hardware, same conditions. Express is no slouch. It's handling a very solid 36,000 requests per second. But Fastify just cranks that all the way up to 42,000. That's a gain you can't ignore.
But here's the thing. It's not just about the raw request count. Fastify also comes out on top in some other really key areas. Its P95 latency is lower, which means your slowest users have a better experience. It uses less memory, and it's easier on the CPU. So, on paper, it's a clear winner, right? But is that really the whole story?
And this is where the plot thickens. See, benchmarks are run in a perfect little bubble. Production is messy. And a lot of the time, the biggest drag on your performance has nothing to do with your framework.
This is the critical question. Your app doesn't live on an island, right? It's constantly talking to databases, caches, other services. So what happens when one of those things starts to drag its feet, even just a little? Okay, now check this out, because this is fascinating. We add just a tiny 10 millisecond delay from the database, and look what happens. Suddenly, both frameworks see their P95 latency shoot past 60 milliseconds. That 6 millisecond lead that Fastify had,
Well, it pretty much disappears into the noise of this much bigger problem. And that brings us to a huge takeaway. In most real-world systems, the time your app spends just waiting, for the network, for the database, for whatever, that time is almost always the biggest piece of the pie. The framework itself is often just a tiny sliver.
So this whole focus on benchmarks creates a few myths we need to bust. Number one, benchmarks are not production. Not even close. Number two, that Express can't scale. That's just not true. Usually, bad architecture is what stops you from scaling. And number three, thinking a shiny new framework is going to magically fix all your problems, it won't.
All right, let's pull back from the code for a minute. Let's put on our CTO hat. To make a good long-term decision, you have to think way beyond just pure speed.
And this is really where you see the two sides of the coin. The argument for Express is all about its absolutely massive, mature ecosystem. You can find a library for anything, and it's easy to hire for. It's the stable, battle-tested giant. The case for Fastify? That's all about peak efficiency, which means you can pack more onto your servers and save on cloud costs. Plus, its modern design kind of nudges you into writing better code.
Okay, so how do you actually make a choice? How do you decide what's right for you? Because it's not about which one is best overall. It's about which one is the right tool for the job you have right now.
You're probably going to lean towards Express when you're working in a big, mature company, where you absolutely need some of those obscure middleware packages that have been around forever. It's also great for just banging out a prototype quickly, especially if your team values being able to do things their own way.
And you're going to reach for Fastify when performance is the name of the game. If you're building something that needs to handle a ton of traffic, especially if it does a lot of data validation, Fastify is a beast. It's also an awesome choice for brand new projects where you can optimize everything from the start. So before you go and rewrite everything, here's your game plan, a simple 4-step process. First, actually profile your current app. Find out where it's really slow. Second, measure the things that matter, like P95 latency, your user experience, not just raw request numbers. Third, go fix the easy stuff first, your database queries, your caching. And finally, make a decision based on your team and your project's real needs, not just whatever's trendy on the internet.
So at the end of the day, it all boils down to this one question. If you had to build that 50,000 requests per second API right now, what's more important to you? The stability and comfort of a massive ecosystem, or the raw power and future-proofing of maximum performance? That's the real question. And now you're ready to answer it for yourself.